Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. Today coming to you live from the monthly Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In out here at Lupe Tortilla Tex-Mex Restaurant in Katy. Coming up, more cruiser owners with their car tales. Jeff reviews our pre-owned car of the week, the 2019 Genesis GV80. Conrad will have his car clinic, and we'll have the stories making auto news headlines this week. That and more just ahead on today's live In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, May 15th, 2021. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Dziekan, and our chief engineer making a rare Saturday morning appearance, Mr. David Ainsley. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And Mr. Mars?
You know, one of the things that we figured out coming out to these kind of cruise-ins.
I haven't figured anything out yet.
Everybody has their own special idea about what is the perfect year Corvette. Remember we talked to the guy last time over on Kirby about his 66 fastback, you know, that was the perfect Corvette. Well, today we've got another one sitting out here, a 66 convertible that just to me is just it's gorgeous.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Bob Watson is going to join us, and he's going to tell us just how that thing came about.
Bob, it's good to have you with us this morning, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
The 66 Corvette convertible. They didn't make a whole lot of convertibles in 66.
No, they didn't. Matter of fact, I don't know the actual number, but you're right. There were more coupes than there were convertibles.
Yeah.
I've always wanted a 66.
Why? What's so special about a 66?
Well,
because it's not a 67?
No, actually, I could have settled for a 5, 6, or 7. The 6 was an opportunity. But back in college, I had a friend that drove a beater to college his freshman year.
A beater Corvette?
No, just a beater.
Okay.
Barely would go to the grocery store. It was so bad.
Yep.
Anyway, his dad was a home builder, and he told him if he would complete his freshman year and go back to college his sophomore year, this was a rich kid. His dad said, if you work for me all summer, I'll let you buy any car you want.
Oh.
So he showed up that fall, his sophomore year, in a 65 red convertible Corvette.
Nice.
He couldn't, I don't know how to describe this, but anyway, it was a chick magnet. But he wouldn't let me drive it. I could ride in it, but he wouldn't let me drive it. And I was a hot rodder. I'd been building cars all my life. I started wrenching on cars when I was 14. Before I got out of high school, I'd owned 3 hot rods that I had actually built myself. But anyway, I love this Corvette. And we'd take trips in it, but never had a chance to drive it. So all my life, I wanted one. Raising 5 children, you can imagine how much that costs.
Yeah. You were a little busy.
Never had any money to spare.
Right.
And I restored some Mustangs just to make a little money and flipped some other cars to make a little extra money, but still always had that desire for a Corvette. So fast forward, I finally got all the kids married off, and I started having a little extra money, and I told my wife, I'm going to buy me a Vette and restore it. So I started looking. And I found this on Corvette Trader. It was 2013, and came out of Maryland, and the woman was wanting $16,000 for it. Well, I thought that was a little pricey considering the shape it was in, but I wanted one so bad, and they're hard to come by.
Yep.
Just to restore, they're hard to come by because professionals are buying them and restoring them and making big bucks. But nonetheless...
No, they're not making big bucks, but they put a lot of money into them, and they're worth a lot of money.
Yeah, that's
Depends
true.
on what you pay for it, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, the lady was asking 16, and I talked to her on the phone. She liked my East Texas accent, and we got to talking.
It was the accent that got you the car.
Well, this happened to be a farm in Maryland, and she was kind of a country girl, and she wanted me to have the car. She said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you have it for 14. I said, well, it looks a little rough just looking at pictures. And she didn't know anything about it. It had sat in the barn for 40 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Her husband had owned it and had raced it and blew the motor up. I don't know what happened to the motor. And he had damaged the front end. And I think the guy that raced it might have even died in the car because I've got the old steering wheel that's bent like a pretzel. and
That's when he messed up
it
the
was
front
all
end.
it was all tore up.
Safety wasn't a concern back then. It was just go fast.
It really wasn't. He might not even had on a seatbelt for all I know. I guess the steering wheel was his safety mechanism. Anyway, I think he might have died in the car. Sometimes I tell people the car is haunted because when I'm working on it, fast forward for just a few minutes, I was always getting hurt, minor injuries. So I nicknamed the car Christine.
Oh, Lord.
And even today, I think she's maybe haunted. Don't know, but I drive her like a little old lady. So fast forward, I bought the darn car, sight unseen, had this transport bring it to me.
At 14, 14,000 is what
Yes,
you paid for.
14,000.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And I thought that was overpriced. I felt like maybe it was worth 10, but I paid the 14 because it's the only thing I'd found in years.
Right.
So when the transporter brought it to my house, and he had one of these double trailers, he had already offloaded one vehicle. Mine was the second one. And before he dropped the tailgate on this cargo carrier, he asked me, "Have you seen the car?" And I said, "No, I've got pictures of it." And he said, "Well, I just thought I'd warn you before we unload it." And I said,
disclaimer.
"Warn me." Yeah, he said, "It's a little rough." And I said, "Well, I kind of expected that. It had been in a barn for 40 years, you know."
He's trying to tell you he didn't tear it up. It was tore up when he picked it up.
That's about, you know what? I never thought about that.
That's exactly what he was telling you.
I didn't do it.
How bad was it tore up?
Well, I'll try to paint you a picture. Sitting in a barn, it's a convertible, but they didn't have the top up on it.
Oh.
So the rats got hold of it.
Rats, chickens, ducks, squirrels, bats, who knows?
Uh-huh. I get the picture.
And the seats had been taken out of the car and just set on the dirt floor in the barn.
Uh-huh.
So when they sold it to me, they just gathered up what they thought belonged to the car because the woman didn't have a clue.
Dirt and all.
Her husband had passed away. So they grabbed up the seats that had ants and spiders in them sitting on the dirt. I mean, tons of ants and spiders. And any other part they thought looked like it might have belonged to the car, I just piled it into the cockpit, and that's how it got shipped. Even today, I still have spiders in my garage imported from Maryland.
Okay.
I actually have a picture of spray bombs sitting in the car where every time I'd see another spider or an ant, I'd kill it. But I don't think I got them all. Anyway, I finally got the car. And
Yankee spiders.
Yankee spiders. Damn Yankee spiders. You know the difference between a damn Yankee spider and just a spider? The damn Yankee spiders didn't go back home.
Rim shot.
Boom.
Anyway, I like to work on cars, and I know how to work on cars. I had built quite a few. And I'm very stubborn. I should have cut my losses, sold it for what I could have gotten for it, and I would have been way ahead. So I set a goal of $50,000. I said, I'm going to restore this thing. My goal is $50,000, and I hope to get it done by 50. Well, I can quickly fast forward that. When I hit 50 and I wasn't finished, I knew I was in trouble.
And you were already into it, so you had to finish.
Oh, yeah. And the woman that actually sold it to me wanted to buy it back when I finished it.
But just still wanted to give you $14,000 for it.
Was there frame damage to the car?
No, actually, I had the frame checked out. I did a body off restoration, stripped it down to bare frame, had it checked on a jig.
Yep.
Had it sandblasted and coated, and good frame. But I had to buy so many parts to restore the car. It's just unbelievable.
Did you have to buy any fiberglass for it?
Yes, I replaced the whole front clip. He had a racing clip on there with no headlights, and it was a 57 because it had the 5 louvers on the side fender instead of the 4 like a 66 would have had. And real cheap reproduction front end and hood. The hood was very flimsy, very, very lightweight.
Lightweight, yeah.
So they could just, hold it on with pins and pop it off for racing.
You can tell he's a Corvette aficionado because he knows 5 louvers versus 4 louvers.
Absolutely.
Versus vertical louvers versus horizontal louvers.
Or the honeycomb
and
louvers.
how that identified year to
Well,
year.
when you've been wanting a darn car for 50 years and you study everything you can about them, you get a little knowledge.
Okay, so the engine was blown up and gone. So what engine is in it now?
Well, they claim, and I can't prove one way or the other, that the original motor they shipped with the car. But The motor was sitting in the barn. They picked it up and just set it in there, unmounted, and set it on the tie bar.
Nice.
And you couldn't steer it because it was sitting on the tie bar. Not mounted, just literally thrown
dropped
in the
it
engine
in there.
compartment. But the woman says that was the original 327 motor.
So you still have that motor?
That's in the car now.
Oh, that's in the car.
Oh.
Okay. So you got it running and got it in the car.
Well, there's more to it than that.
All right. Of
Always
course there is. Yeah.
It's a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
I could talk about this car for hours, but I'll try not to do that. The motor, being that it was supposed to be numbers matching, came in the car. I took their word for it, but I couldn't get the numbers off the engine block to confirm because there are some digits in the last 4 or 5 digits of your VIN number is stamped on the block, but those numbers couldn't be read on my block. It just absolutely couldn't read them. So I just, okay, maybe it is original. Who cares? It's a 327. So I had the motor rebuilt by someone that's professional, and I do everything else to make it look pretty, but I wanted the basic block to be in good shape. And the crazy guy bored out every cylinder and put in sleeves in every hole. And I thought,
Oh, no.
why did you do this? He said, well, you want to keep it 327, so I didn't want to go 30, 40 over, so I just re-sleeved everything. I thought, I didn't ask you to do that.
Nobody's going to know it's 30 over unless I tell them.
That's right.
Anyway, I'm not talking. But he re-sleeved the motor. There was a middleman involved here, and I'm not mentioning any names, that he had a grievance against because he hadn't been paying his bill, and I was going through this middleman to get this machine shop to do the work. So they sabotaged the motor to get back at this guy that owed him money.
Sabotage your motor.
My motor.
Nice guys.
What he did is he put the wrong bearings in the mains and the rods, every one. I still have them. It's a show and tell thing. And got the motor all together. First time I cranked it up, 5 minutes later, it's puking water everywhere. Couldn't figure out what's going on. Well, it's a new motor. It needs to break in. So I let it cool down and crank it up again. It's starting puking water everywhere. I said, well, it's a new motor. It's still tight. They've re-sleeved it. You know, I'm going to cut it some slack. Well, the heating problem never went away. I could drive it a mile, and it would overheat, peg the gauge, and I'd be on the side of the road puking water everywhere. So I took it back home. I said, something's wrong with this motor. So I pulled the motor out, put in a temporary crate 350 I got from O'Reilly, and drove it for a few months with that crate 350 and had this motor redone again. And that's when we found out the bearings were all screwed up. Every one of them is just unbelievable. They were too tight. And the motor would seize up and get extremely hot. That's what was happening. So I've got all the rod bearings and I got all the mains in a box that I show people when I do presentations on the car. Anyway, I got it rebuilt correctly by a guy that really knows what he's doing up in Cypress. Joe G&G Performance Engines. A lot of people know Joe because he builds race engines. Very popular guy. So he put it together correctly, and I was so happy to get that motor and get it back in the car. So I spent a lot of money when I hit the $50,000 mark, and I'm only 60% complete. I knew I was in trouble. And so the woman that wanted to buy it back, once I hit the $50,000, she lost interest. Said, I'm out of here. Because that's about all she was willing to pay.
Market, yeah.
Anyway, several times I had people wanting to buy it from me, and I turned them down. In retrospect, I should have sold it.
No, if you're, because I've been looking at the '60s, and you're good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you.
So
the market right now, you're still good.
Oh, very
Well,
much so.
I've got it insured for $90,000,
That'd be about right.
and I figured that's no deductible collision. You know,
Haggerty.
yeah,
Yep.
no deductible for anything, and I'm pretty comfortable. But I'm thinking about raising the bar to 100.
By being a convertible, you might, and with the original,
Yeah.
numbers matching stuff, you might could do that.
So the hood, because it's got the bubble vented hood on it.
The big block hood.
Yeah, and
yes.
that wasn't optional unless it came with a big block, right?
That's true.
That you couldn't option that on a small block.
Well, everybody likes big block things,
Right.
and I like the looks of the big block hood on that model.
Oh,
Of course,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
big block on the 67 looks a
Had
little
the
different.
Stinger, right.
The Stinger. And a lot of people say, well, put the Stinger hood on it. I said, no, it doesn't. That's not right. This is 66. I put the big block 66 hood on it, thinking one day I'd put a 427 in it. Because I had a Camaro with a big block, and I drove it like I'd stole it. My wife said, don't you know how to drive that car normal? And I said, this is normal.
That's right. Let's define our terms here.
Anyway, I like the 427. I made some subtle upgrades that maybe only an expert would know, but I got modern power steering instead of the piston assist type power steering. And it's got vintage air. Got dual master cylinders instead of single.
Yep.
66 was up to 66 was single. Starting 67 they went dual. But
and that's a smart upgrade to make.
I made it dual. I got a modern electronic ignition, which helps, of course, it run
Took away
better.
the points and condenser.
Yeah, and I got a 750 Holly on it, and
only because you're tired of the quadrijet leaking.
I never was a quadrijet.
No.
Because that one kept puking.
I've got a Holly on my old.
I don't know
as well.
why. I got 4 spare Hollies sitting on my shelf at the house. I just like Hollies.
You just need to find another car to put
they're
underneath
simple
them.
There you go.
to work on.
We running out of time here.
We're good.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
Alrighty. So I did a lot of the work myself. I'm not a body guy, but I got it ready. I put a whole new front clip on there. I got the old one off. It was pretty easy to get off. Just take a big butcher knife and a hammer and go along the seams and just tap it, and it just separates. It's just, I took that front clip off in 30 minutes. I could not believe it.
How was it getting it back on?
I had an expert do that.
Uh-huh.
Someone that really knew what they were doing.
Right.
And he was down in Freeport, and I took it to a body shop here north of Katy, Katy Custom, and he said it's not right, and he took it off and reinstalled it. But anyway,
You're going to get this right yet.
Everybody has their opinion.
I kind of agreed with him that it might have been done a little differently, but anyway, finally got the front end nailed.
Now, has it got an automatic or a standard transmission?
Oh, you don't put automatic in these things.
It's sacrilege.
Well, I understand, but it is a convertible, so.
I have seen a lot of automatics, but me, the muscle car's got to have that 4-speed.
And back then, the automatic would have been a power glide.
Yes,
They wouldn't have been the 3-speed. I don't think the 3-speed came in until.
Would be turbo 300,
Turbo
350,
350,
350.
I think he was asking for a friend. That's what it was.
That's it.
Anyway, I got the transmission at Conroe Swap Meet, and there's a guy that rebuilds transmissions named Cajun John. I had Cajun John totally go through the transmission and make it like new.
And then who had to redo it after Cajun John did it? It seems like everything else has had to be redone.
Nobody.
So
John,
he did it right the first time.
He did it right. It's a great transmission.
Trans wasn't puking.
How many miles have you put on the car since you've owned it?
Took me 5 years to restore it. I've been driving it about 3 years, and I probably put 3,000 on it in 3 years.
That's not
good.
bad.
No,
So it's not a garage queen.
Well, almost.
Well, Don's our garage queen.
Yes, my wife. She'll
Just the
say it's a
queen.
garage queen. She keeps her Lexus in the driveway. I keep my Vet in the garage.
Oh,
Go
boy.
figure.
Well, you got to have your priorities.
Exactly.
I got another toy in the garage too.
And what is that?
I'm building a Shelby Cobra kit car.
Okay. What
Very
power?
nice.
What engine?
351 Windsor.
Okay, so you're staying Ford, true to the brand.
Yeah, Ford 9-inch rear end.
Top loader?
Yes.
Of course.
Got a T5, came out of a 94 Mustang Cobra. And it's got aluminum AFR heads, roller cam, roller rockers. I estimate 400, 4.25 horsepower.
Holly carburetor.
In
In
a
a car,
22.
1,200 pounds, 1,800.
Nah,
Yeah.
about
Oh,
20.
it's probably 2,000, yeah. But
Anyway, I picked that up mid-January. Been working on it a few months. I'm about, I don't know, 60% there.
You doing it yourself, or are you having help?
Oh, no, I'll do it all, except body. I don't do body work. I'm allergic to dust. I just don't like all that sanding, and you got to do a lot of sanding if you're going to get it right.
absolutely.
Well, Bob, when we pulled in this morning, we thought, now there's a guy we got to talk to. That's a nice car. You been to
Beautiful
this
car.
show before?
Well, this year I haven't. This is the first one I've attended in 21, but last year I was here for every show.
Yeah.
And I only live 2 blocks from here, right behind here. is where I live.
It's what we have come to find out. A lot of folks that come to this are very nearby, which is cool
Very
that there
local.
is that kind of show
Car culture out
car culture here in the area.
Well, I've been here when there's been as many as 200 cars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
A couple of times,
You
yeah, the
know,
parking lot
but
next
all the
door
way-
is full.
All the way over there, yeah. And it's been very interesting. It's a very good mix. And I like to come out and just talk to the people, kick some tires,
And see us.
tell a few lies, you know.
Absolutely. We tell lots of lies
and
here.
the cars typically change all the time. It's
Yeah.
not like it's the same 50, 60 people show up. There's Don said earlier, there's a core group of people that show up, but there's always new and interesting cars.
Well, I like to tell stories about cars, and half of it's true.
Perfect. Well, you fit right in with us.
That's right.
Bob Watson, thanks so much
You know,
for joining us
one
today.
thing I didn't tell you, the bottom line, and people always ask me this, how much you got in the car? Well, round number is 80,000.
I'd easily
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah.
Okay.
Your wife
And you're
is
still
listening.
good in this market.
Well, that came out of my retirement plan. My wife's still not happy about that, but I think it's a good investment.
Yeah,
That's
well,
right. It is.
Absolutely
It's
it is.
appreciating.
Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, Bob Watson. All right, time now to look at the racing calendar. And of course, it's getting to be full tilt time for racing around these
Well,
parts.
4 Wide in Charlotte is this weekend with NHRA. And yesterday, first pass, Erica qualified 12th with a 660, but she didn't have a good run. Also tomorrow is IMSA at Mid-Ohio, so the Corvettes will be back in action in the road course, and the Cadillacs prototypes will be back in action at the road course at Mid-Ohio. Next weekend is the Trans Am Series in Lime Rock, Connecticut. Tomorrow is Dover for the NASCAR, and then May 23rd is NASCAR will be at Circuit of the Americas up in Austin, and then May 30th, the Charlotte World 600, again in Charlotte, and that's the longest NASCAR race of the season. It's 600 miles. And that one starts at the conclusion of the Indy 500. So usually the Indy 500 ends, and a couple of hours later, the World 600 starts. But there's nobody doing a double this year. Through the years, different people have run both the IndyCar and the NASCAR event. And then Mopar Express Lane NHRA will be next weekend here in Houston for the Spring Nationals presented by Pennzoil. And then in June on the 11th and through the 13th, it will be in Epping, New Hampshire for the New England Nationals. And then next weekend is Formula One Monaco, which is always a great race.
And I want to remind everybody that coming up in a couple of weeks is the Gulf Coast Racing Series at Houston Motorsports Park here locally. That's May the 29th, a Saturday night. Pro Trucks, Modifieds, Outlaws, Eco Stock, Super Stocks, and the Legacies will be there. So that's May the 29th. Big truck event. $10,000 is the purse.
Good prize money there.
Yeah, very good prize money. So make plans to attend. Racing gets underway at 6 o'clock, and you get home by 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. All right, time now for our pre-owned car of the week. Mr. Dziekan has the 2019 Genesis GV80.
80.
You switching roles here?
Well, I'm getting him on the camera. He's over there in the corner again.
oh, I see.
Jeff's usually in the corner.
Yeah, I'm in the corner. I want to say one thing before we start. We'll get it done quick, but you talked about the tire recall. Back in the day, my dad used to put us in tires and roll us down the hill.
Yeah.
Those are good years.
Ching.
2019 Genesis. I've only had 6 drinks.
Yeah.
2019 Genesis
Sounds like you hit your head a lot.
GV80.
GV, you know, the Genesis brand, I'm totally unfamiliar with it. I've had one of them in the press fleet.
You and me both, and that's why we're doing this. I wanted to find out more.
The GV80, is
That's the SUV.
Oh, okay.
The sport utility vehicle. They come in a standard, an advanced, a prestige, and an all-wheel drive standard. Right now, we're going to take a look at the advanced. It is an SUV, and it's a 5-passenger one to be talking about that. 5 passengers. What it's got going for it, exterior-wise, it's got a bold design. It's got the quad headlamps, which I really do like. It's got a wide stance, forward warning system. It has a cross-traffic warning system, and it has a mesh grille, which I really like. It's the big gritty, manly grill on there.
Big smile.
Big
Cheese
smile.
grater.
And according to the Genesis, the designers, they call it a hockey stick design because of the shape of the way it is and the way it flows from the back to the front rather than the front to the back. Interior-wise, you've got a 14.5 infotainment system, which I really
That's
like.
a Detroit thing. It's a hockey stick.
It's a hockey stick.
That's right.
The Red Wings. Cloud-based voice recognition system. Touch control with handwriting recognition. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I'm driving down the road. And I'm going to hand
That's
write
right.
Writing
I threw
notes
that
out.
in there. I looked that up, and it is a true thing. You've got between, depending on the model, the advanced and the standard, you can get between 7 and 18 speakers on this, depending on the model. Driver active seat, it's got, how it vibrates when you get into a situation. The steering wheel does that as well. Cadillac came up with that, I believe. All leather. You can get leather in the mixed interior with the leather and the cloth. What it has under the hood, you've got a V6. It's a 3.8 rear-wheel drive. It also, availability is a 2.5 turbo. They used to make a V8, and there's talk that they're going to get rid of the V8 and stick with the V6 and then the 2.5 turbo. But depending on the model you can get a 3.8 Ultimate or a 3.8 Sport. Getting under the hood a little further, it is 311 horsepower at 6,000 RPM. You've got 293 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM. 6-speed shiftable automatic transmission. 19 in the city for the mileage, 27 highway, which is a combined rating of a 22 with a 20.3-gallon fuel tank, and is regular unleaded. So that's a good thing. Ride and handling, you've got 4-wheel independent suspension, front and rear stabilizers, rolling on a 245/45/18 with polished alloy wheels. You can get 20s and 22s as an option, but stick with what you got. Shift by wire, 5-year, 50,000-mile basic warranty. 40,000 to 64,000, depending on the mileage and the condition of the vehicle. They're closer to the 60 range on this vehicle. I really like it. It's a cool SUV. Recalls on it.
60,000 on the used side?
On the used. It's 2 years old. 2 years old, so it
Lord,
still has
what was
value.
it? So, in other words, it was like 80 when it was
Close,
new.
yes. Close.
Wow. Okay.
Now, recalls on this from 2017 to 2020, they've been a little coy in releasing information, but I did find out ABS had some issues. No specifics on the ABS. So now, one of the things that we talked about earlier on in the year, this is a South Korean vehicle. It's owned by Hyundai. So this is a Hyundai vehicle.
So it's a handshake with Hyundai and Genesis.
It's a handshake agreement to get this vehicle going. In 2015 is when it was founded, Genesis. And when Hyundai Genesis sedan was unveiled in 2008, it surprised many of having a different logo, normal of the Hyundai. So the cars in the Korean brand, and of course it turned out that this was a prudent approach for the company to make it a Genesis, a start of a standalone marquee.
Yep, kind of a pirouette.
Exactly. So initially the Genesis car sold in the United States, it had the H logo, the Hyundai logo, manufactured by Hyundai. However, the vehicles sold in other countries had another badge paired with wings, and you see that sometimes on the road as well. When buying a Genesis, Americans had an option to install the regular H logo or the Wing Genesis logo. Eventually, it turned out that only 20% of the customers opted for the regular badge, the regular H.
They knew the history.
Right. So back in 2008, quite a few of the industry experts claimed that Hyundai was going to turn Genesis into a separate brand. However, the company did not officially announce it until 2015.
And the badge has, to me, a Bentley look to it.
Yes,
It does.
Yes. Well, and also the Chrysler 300 has a little bit of a wing on it too. So that's it for that. So the end.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. The In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, InWheelTime.com, and on Twitch. Podcasts available on your favorite podcast site. The In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break.
Winning the highest sales satisfaction award among all luxury brands from J.D. Power in 2020 tells you everything you need to know about your Lincoln purchase from Bayway. Bayway Lincoln is where a premium buying experience is a priority, and you're invited to feel it yourself. This Houstonian-owned premier dealership is managed by Lincoln Stahl, a seasoned member of the Bayway family. If it's online, in person, or in your own driveway, Bayway gets you to the luxury level you deserve. Bayway Lincoln is on the Gulf Freeway at Fuquay, just inside Beltway 8. Visit BaywayLincoln.com today. Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, June 19th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free, and everyone is invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off in a friends and family event at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupi founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise-in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, June 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupi's in Katy. The In-Wheel Time Car Show will be there, too. Get your ride ready, and we'll see you at Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday morning, June 19th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Lupi's in Katy, weather permitting.
NHRA Camping World Drag Racing. It's an 11,000 horsepower Nitro Rodeo coming to Houston Raceway Park in Baytown. Catch all the Nitro and Pro stock action at the Mopar Express Lane NHRA Spring Nationals presented by Pennzoil, May 21st through 23rd. Matt Hagan, Leah Pruitt, Erica Enders, 3-time world champ Steve Thorns, and 16-time himself John Force. Kids 12 and under are free in general admission. Get tickets at HoustonRaceway.com. Houston.
Don't miss the first ever Houston Summer Auto Show, May 19th through the 23rd at NRG Center. A limited edition collection of your favorite brands and models, including the new Ford Bronco and Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Tickets online only at HoustonAutoShow.com.